Today, we're looking at Elixir's Siloso Sunset. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Elixir's Siloso Sunset is kind of an orangey red ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Noodler's Nib Creeper to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And what we see is this pink across the bottom that pushes its way up. We get a very nice orange and some bright highlighter yellow across the top. The one on the right, I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And truly, we see no difference between these two inks for being allowed to be on the filter paper for 10 minutes. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. It handled itself very well with the highlighter. That extra fine becomes about a fine, but nothing blows out and becomes unreadable. And the little bit of movement that occurs on the part of the H doesn't make me fearful using this in a note-taking situation. Now, looking at the water, it does reactivate and lift quite a bit of this ink. We see around the edges of that water that was only there for 30 seconds, we start to see the white of the paper coming through, which really does make me say that water is all that it's going to need, that all that it's going to take to get this out of your pen. Pen flush does a little bit more than water, but water's being plenty sufficient. We easily see the white of the paper coming through with the pen flush. And the 1/3 bleach solution, even though you would not need it to get this out of your pen, completely removes it from the paper. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Elixir's Siloso Sunset has a viscosity of 2.85, making it normal. To find my average dry time, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Elixir's Siloso Sunset has an average dry time of 20 seconds, making it still normal. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in bottle form because in order to get these, you have to order from Singapore, and it's going to take a while, and shipping is not nothing, and I've used close to almost half this bottle, which is a shame because I know how long it's going to take to get it again, but if I order more, I'm going to wind up ordering a couple bottles of it because this is nice. That's it. This is nice. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen. No real shading here, but the color is fantastic. The color is this red-orange, and I love oranges that lean red. I like when some reds, not all of the reds, but sometimes when reds lean orange, I can like them. This is a sunset color. Gorgeous. The extra fine is about the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no real shading. The color is just beautiful. This is golden hour right here. This is beautiful. 14 seconds to dry. I'm good with that. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no real shading. Okay, there's spots that look like it's going to happen. It's right where my thumb was when I do my writing, and that's why that happens over there. But other than that, no real shading. 20 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show us no real color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. The smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, no ghosting. I do not like how this ink looks on this paper at all. I do not like this tone. This is a reason to test multiple colors of things because this, ew. And it's the same ink. But it's the cream background. This paper, the way it makes it perform, gross to me. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1 with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 20 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 27 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any in the smear test. You couldn't recover this. No. Rhodia, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. I have to say I've been kind of disappointed with the fact that it's not really shading for me because I love a good shading orange. It's the red aspect of that color, I think, that has it not shade so much. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 16 seconds to dry. Still a great color. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. It's a slightly darker tone. Same darker tone that we got with the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 23 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't get any in the smear test. You could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Life paper. See, and it's funny because here's a cream paper. It's a different shade of cream because it doesn't make, this makes me say gross. This is just not my favorite tone, but it doesn't make me think gross. Life paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. Very nice color. Not a gorgeous color now, but a very nice color. The extra fine is slightly lighter in tone. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. 13 seconds to dry. The medium is a darker tone, back to the dark tone that we see with the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade. 18 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. I'm actually seeing some color variation in the medium writing. It's not showing up on camera, but I see some in person. But I'm not getting any color variation up in the writing itself. The smear test, I could recover this if I smeared while I was writing. Apica paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. Those spots, that's me scratching the page as an idiot when I'm doing the scrubby. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and there's shading, and beautiful shading. It's very nice. Sunset starts very dark, works its way very light, and gets very dark again. Huh. And I would think that might just be isolated, but I see a little bit of the light spots in the left side of the O of Siloso. I see it in the I to R of Elixir. Very nice. We get some shading with the 1.1. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and you know what? We have some shading. This ink seems to be shading very nicely on this paper. The starts dark and gets light. Quick starts dark, gets light, gets dark again. Very dark on the K. Brown starts very dark, works very light into the OW, and very dark on the N. Fox is a mid-tone to light to very dark at the X. This is beautiful shading going on here. If it did this all the time, this is a standout, amazing ink, although I love its color. I've used half that bottle. 9 seconds to dry. Medium, darker tone than the extra fine, certainly darker than the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and you know what? Shading. Very nice. The brown starts very dark, gets very light, gets very dark again. Fox starts very light, gets dark, very dark, gets light, gets super dark on the X. Nice. Something's going on. This ink and this paper, shading comes through. 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine, when we look far left to far right, has plenty of color variation. The medium far left to far right has some color variation. We did get plenty of color variation in the writing itself. And a smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing.
Franklin Christoph, our last paper of the day. We've got spotting on the medium. And it's the first time this has really happened. It's just an ink that doesn't care for this paper. It would not stop you from using the back of the page. It does not touch the page underneath, but there is some spotting that goes on. With the medium, not the extra fine or the 1.1, yes, the scrubby comes through a bit. I scratch through like an animal. The 1.1 gives no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and no shade. Now the extra fine is a lighter tone than the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is a much darker tone than the extra fine. It's slightly darker than the 1.1. The medium has no spread, but it has feathering in a lot of places on this writing. And it's not isolated enough that I want to say there was just a something. The medium on this paper, of course, this is where we're getting bleed spotting. And we're getting feathering. This ink does not like this paper, not in a medium nib, but if it goes down a little bit drier, it seems to do perfectly fine. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby of both show us no color variation. We didn't get any color variation. And the smear test, the extra fine you could recover, the medium I don't think you could, and that is all that I have for the writing sample.
Instead of finding inks that look like Elixir Siloso Sunset, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I wanted a nice blue with this orange, and I chose Diamine's Oxford Blue. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Elixir Siloso Sunset? This is a great shading orange to red ink. It's truly gorgeous. It stands out very nicely on the page. It never screams, it behaves nicely, and it has very quickly become an ink that I regularly put into my pens. It also means that I'm about to use that bottle up probably a lot faster than I would have thought, which is a shame because it does take so long to get here, but I will be ordering more of it. Thanks for watching.